I realize that, but that's not what I associate with.
I think we're gonna ring, is it?
Oh Lord, yeah, it will. Big ring.
Can I go now? Are you ready?
I'm waiting on you. I've been out here for the last 5 minutes waiting on you to get here.
Did you hear this?
I did. It's cold in here. It's a
Cold.
12 volt.
How can you get a little winter gifts here?
This truck looks very nice, Mike.
Nice and clean.
It smells good in here too.
That's my aroma.
Oh, I gotta pee.
I didn't. Does this air conditioning get any colder?
Put it on. Put
Do
it on
that to my God.
max if you want.
Good gosh, my hand is frozen.
Fun day already. I'm ready for this day. He's like
What is it
turned
like?
everything on.
We're in the Arctic tundra. I've never been that cold before.
And then there's the
Oh,
burn.
now it's hot. So, topic of conversation is relationships. I did a video about relationships a long time ago. It was one of the first videos that I put out, was the costly investment of building relationships.
Yeah, it's also risky. It's high, but it's also the most important thing you can do.
It is, yeah, exactly.
It is build a relationship.
In order to have a deep, meaning relationship, you have to be vulnerable, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a big key factor of building relationships is being honest, open, being vulnerable, essentially. And then because of that, then that's where that risk comes in play.
The risk goes down the deeper it gets.
True. No, that's probably a very valid point.
We build trust.
So you have trust with people.
Build trust with somebody.
But what does trust get you? I mean,
Friendship, because without friendship, you're all alone all the time.
yeah.
And, you know,
So you're kind of creating a community then.
absolutely. You know, when I think about a friend, I think about somebody that you can tell anything to,
Yeah.
and that will tell you any kind of
Their honest feedback.
yeah, their honest feedback, but they do it in love, not in judgment.
Yeah. So an open line of communication without fear of judgment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of the same thing with team building. If you have that relationship with someone, but you don't have trust with them, then you're not going to build that relationship and have a good understanding of the way they operate. Really.
Like, so how does relationship building correlate with or coincide with team building? Because that is a core value that we discuss all the time, is team building and how you build a strong team and how you communicate as a team and all those things. And at the root, Mike even talked about it this morning in our weekly meeting, was communication. Who are we communicating with? Why are we communicating?
Yeah.
How are we communicating? And then and so the level of communication and the openness in communication goes back to those relationships that you've built.
Right.
So the other thing that I believe about relationships is that you have to be intentional about it.
Right.
And very selective. So being intentional about it is very important, because if you build relationships with the wrong people and you basically are pushing yourselves into you could potentially push yourself into a negative atmosphere, or you could surround yourself by people and build relationships with people that are not life-giving, that they're like, what's the reverse of that?
Right, they suck the life out of you.
They just are creating relationships out of obligation but intentionality.
Right.
Yeah.
So always being in a state of serving others.
Right.
What can I do to be a servant to Mike? What can I do to be a servant to Zach? And anybody that you're dealing with is that kind of servant attitude. And if Mike has that same attitude towards me, then we're basically just serving each other for the betterment,
Right.
and building each other up.
Absolutely.
Right? And encouraging you.
And I break it down. There's basically two categories that people either fall into. They're either a burden to somebody, or they're an asset to somebody.
Huh.
You know,
It's a burden or encouragement, one of the two.
yeah. So
Interesting.
So if you're encouraging somebody, you'll never be a burden to them.
Yeah.
And if you're a burden to somebody, it's very seldom do you encourage them.
Yeah, if you always come in with a negative attitude,
Absolutely.
and are always bogged down and bringing negativity to the team, then essentially you're going to bog yourself down and bog the team down.
Right.
If you come in with a positive attitude and put a positive spin on everything that you do, then you're going to build their team up, and everybody's going to feel happier about it.
Exactly.
Really.
And
So it's almost like self-awareness. Obviously, that's a big factor of being aware of how you're perceived and what kind of how you're engaging with people.
Right.
And then at the same point, how you are going about building relationships with
Right.
people and adding value to others' lives.
right.
Like that's buzzwords. That's what
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike. Buzzwords. There's a lot of buzzwords in that, but it's the value. Like, how can I add value to someone else's life? And in turn, if you find other people that are in that same mindset, then you're basically
That'll just bounce off that. Hey,
I know, it's like this.
now it gets tricky.
yeah. Sorry, sir. Sorry. Please don't.
Loc-Doc, don't
It's-
call the
it's
number.
not.
Hey, look at that.
Unless they brought the military out to catch us. So then here's where I always like to go with things. Okay, so establish relationships are the foundation of team building. It's the core of how you can grow and make each other better and become better as a sum. So then the next natural step is, what are actionable things that all of us can do every day to be intentional about building relationships with others that are life-giving, that are encouraging relationships? What does encouraging somebody look like?
Zach, you want to take that one?
Zach, I think you can do this one better.
Yeah, pass it along, you know.
Because he encourages me on a daily basis. He just walks in and says, "Hey, how you doing?" Smile, says, shakes your hand.
It's all about shaking hands.
I know.
shaking hands.
Oh.
Passing germs around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that just shows you, and I don't do that for myself. I do that just because that's my type of personality,
Right.
and I'm always just that's building relationships, seeing how people are doing, you know, asking how things are going in your life. You know, hey Mike, how's your wife doing? You know, is her job going okay? You know, those type of things, and we have that type of relationship because when we started together, we didn't really have that
Right.
in the beginning.
And I follow that, and that's a foundational point I do. But you also do small little things too, just like random text messages to people, be like, "Hey, you're doing an awesome job," for no
thanks
reason.
for your help.
Yeah.
Or,
And that's I think is a factor, is for no reason other than just to say, "Hey, Mike, you're doing an awesome job."
Yeah. And when I first started at Loc-Doc, my biggest thing was accepting that,
Yeah.
because a lot of steps in my life, people would say, "Hey, I appreciate that," and then the next thing would say, "Can you come over and do
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Can you do that?" I mean,
Absolutely.
that was always a loaded thing.
Yes.
But so
yeah.
A loaded compliment.
you and Zach both say, "Hey, we appreciate you," and then you ask that question, "How is your family?" You guys are engaged with the answer.
Yeah.
Probably all coffee.
Somebody spilled coffee down here.
This guy.
One of the clues my father gave me when I was joining to marriage. You know, for his first question, he goes, "Well, what's marriage look like to you?" And I
Yeah.
was like, "I don't know, 50-50 deal." He said, "No, that's not what it is. You got to give 100% and expect nothing in return."
That's not right.
So we're on our way to Charleston, South Carolina for a meeting.
I thought we were going fishing.
Did you not tell him?
I told him to bring his fishing pole.
Oh.
No, you didn't.
I did.
You said don't bring your fishing pole.
Oh, crap. We can rent poles. It's fine.
You guys go fishing all day long. I'm going golfing.
Hey.